Hi, how are you doing? I hope you're having a lovely day and you've had a good week. Today I just wanted to sit down and kind of go through the basics of macros. It's so overwhelming when you first start out in the gym or even just throughout your fitness journey in terms of like nutrition, knowing where to start, finding it super overwhelming because there's just so much information. Everyone's got an opinion and everything, and at the end of the day it is just finding what works for you. This is an approach that's like personally changed the game for me and my like lifestyle, if you'd like, has helped me have such like a free and flexible way of reaching my fitness goals and everything like that. So yeah, I'll just cover as much as I can and go through sort of the basics of it all, try and simplify it because there's so much content out there as well. Before we get straight into it, if you could hit this with a like, I would really appreciate it. As always, it really supports my channel, and we'll go ahead. So with the basics, your macros and macronutrients consist of your proteins, carbs and fats. So obviously you probably already know that, but they are the main things that your body needs for energy and just to function on a whole. Penelope snoring in the background. Penelope, it's not sleep time. Before I found sort of tracking macros, I've tried every single diet going, so many fads, nothing that truly helped me. It was mainly very restrictive stuff that I tried that said don't have bread or like crazy stuff like that. Whereas calculating my macros and tracking those, there's no elimination of any food group as long as it fits within your macros, and you will be so surprised. Just starting with like the basics, I think these are really important and it's so good to know the science behind everything that you're doing and eating. So your protein and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram and fats have 9 calories per gram. Then the first few steps, obviously you need to calculate your personal ones, and there are so many free online macro calculators which are really useful. There are some that are more useful or less useful than others, but basically the more info that it asks about yourself the better really, because you can get a clearer idea. But just to really mention and reiterate, you can't go 100% off these calculators. Use it as your first little starting point and just go from there and make little tweaks to make sure it suits you and you're seeing progression. So I'll leave a link to some macro calculators down below. You can also do it manually using a formula. The general process, you need to work out your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, just how much energy your body uses at a rest. And this is just based on your gender, your height and your weight. Once you've worked out your BMR, you need to work out your activity level, which is going to be so different for each person. I did mention this in my recent fitness mistakes video on how this is exactly why we can't compare or imitate someone else's calories or macros, anything like that, because we all have very different activity levels. So your BMR is multiplied by an activity factor, and that's where your calories get increased and worked out based on your like overall activity level. And that calculation gets you to your total daily energy expenditure. It's TDEE. And at this point is where you adjust your macros and calories based on like your goals. So if you're wanting to lose weight, you can decrease your calories from around 15 to 25% range. If weight gain is the goal, then you increase your calories from 5 to 15%, and obviously if you're just wanting to maintain, then keep them at that level. Then your protein intake should be anything from 0.7 to 2 grams per pound of body weight, and fat intake should be anything from 0.25 to 0.4 grams per pound of body weight as well, and then the rest you can sort of make up within your carbohydrates. Say if weight loss is your main goal, and the kind of idea is to decrease your calories but increase your protein intake. And the thing with protein is it preserves your lean muscle mass whilst you're losing body fat. Once you've got like a calculation, if you've used an online calculator or used the formula itself, when you can work out how much protein, carbs and fats that you need to consume each day to reach whatever goal you have in mind. And then in terms of meeting your macros, I'm just going to show you. I use my Fitness Pal. This is what I've used from the beginning. It is so simple and easy to use. It's free as well. There are some like premium features that I think you can pay for. I've just got the normal one. Just do it in like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. If I want to input something, then you can scan the barcode or oh god, at the top of this milky bar and chocolate orange. You can type in the grams. You can use the scales like this. I got this off Amazon. I will leave this linked down below. As soon as you get into doing it after like a couple of times, it's really easy and simple to sort of monitor. Before even sort of tracking your macros, I just get a rough idea of what you generally eat like by just tracking a day, just how you'd normally eat. I did actually find when I started tracking my macros that I was like pretty much doing 90% carbohydrate, which explained so much to me. I used to have like little energy throughout the day. I would just feel quite drained and stuff, and that's just because I didn't have, like, my meals didn't consist of all three proteins, carbs and fats. And since sort of incorporating that as well as your micronutrients, I'm a lot fuller. I feel so much more energized by incorporating all of those into like each meal. Honestly, it's crazy how much of a difference I've seen in like my mood as well, to be honest. By using MyFitnessPal, you can actually see what foods are higher in your proteins, carbs and fats, which is so useful if you're thinking, wait, hang on, how do I know what is higher in protein? Something I've really learned from my experience with tracking is that it's not one size fits all by any means. I've adjusted and changed things quite a lot, and I figured my body type really suits a high protein diet. Something to mention too is just don't stress, like say if you go over or you're really under, like it's just a whole process, and just be patient with yourself as well. Like don't put so much added pressure or anything, because there's just no need. And at the end of the day, it's a lifestyle and you want to live a happy lifestyle. You've probably heard of calorie counting before. That doesn't take that much consideration into the macro side of things. You could be eating 2,500 calories worth of chocolate, and I know myself, I would still be absolutely starving. And that's where I think like it's not how much you're eating, it really is like what you're eating. I think when it comes to food as well, you really got to understand it affects your mind, your physical body. You feel the difference by filling and fueling your body with like goodness. I feel like I've covered quite a few points in this. Something to mention that I don't think I have already said, counting your macros, I would really just remember as well that like it's not just like a one-time calculation, because obviously our energy expenditure may change, like given the circumstances at the moment. Like a lot of people are still in quarantine and stuff and not moving as much, so there's a lot of like considerations, and it is just something that is good to monitor. And some people perform well with a much like higher fat diet or lower carb, high protein, for example myself. You can really experiment with it and make it work for you. I tried a higher fat diet, I've tried a higher carb diet, a lower carb diet, and now I found like a higher protein diet works for me the best in terms of like mentally as well, and I feel so much more energized. By no means am I saying that this is going to work for everyone or be suitable if you're someone who's got like a health condition. It is just finding what works for you, as well as like if you don't have a good and balanced healthy relationship with food, I would never want this to trigger any sort of disordered eating. So that brings us to the end of this video. I really hope this was useful. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comments down below, and also let me know what videos you would be interested in seeing next, or if you'd like me to cover anything. I really enjoy doing these sort of sit down informative videos. If you haven't already, I would love you to stick around and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.